Hey everyone. Actually no, I bought the Morrisons doll because I went to a Morrisons in Cornwall and I did not expect them to have it, and they did. So that was very strange. But I bought it and it's right in front of you. This isn't a review video. This is actually a video talking about why I think these are slower this year, and are they gonna fix this like for future models if it does return in future years? And we'll get to that. But let me start with why I think this thing is not reaching all the way around. So when you activate it, and you put it on button mode, here you go. When you activate it, it doesn't go all the way to the centre. See, that's not fully aligned. That's not fully aligned, and that's slow. Compared to Haunted Skulls video, it's very, very far off. In fact, in Haunted Skulls it was bouncing off. It was bouncing and then bouncing back to there. So, but why is it stopping there? Because this thing uses limit switches. It uses silent limit switches, not clicky ones, which sadly means they're cheap. But it uses them. So why is it? It's going to cut your battery either, because it's going to keep going until it hits the limit switch. So what is happening? Well, when I twist this around, I start to feel friction. I start to feel friction between up to there, and I'll tell you why I think this is happening. So if you watched Haunted Skulls demo on Haunted Skulls Extra channel, you'll see that it's the motor, or the force of it, is so powerful that the limit switch is here, but there's still loads of residue from the motion, so it goes all the way to here and bounces back. Now you don't want that, because you want it to be like, how do I say this? You don't want it to be bouncing around, or the head to be bouncing off. You want it to look neat when it goes round. So I think what Techie's done is they've added friction. They've added a certain section of friction here, so it means the extra residue from the residue power from the motor, like when it turns off, is slowed down by this little patch of friction that's added to the doll. Now, how does that affect this year's one? I think that Techie, during the manufacturing process, had run out of the correct shaft gears. If you don't know what a shaft gear is, it's what goes on the end of this motor. Obviously before a belt. Obviously after a belt. But look, if I show you here, that's the shaft gear. The very first gear that comes right after the pulley. And it's blurry, sorry about that. But I think Techie, they used the wrong type of shaft gear. And so, or they ran out of the shaft gear that they needed. So what they did is they just like, oh well, instead of putting on a 8 or, instead of putting on like a 12 or 11 teeth gear, they put on like an 8 or 7 gear, which actually makes a very big difference. So that's my theory. And then of course they still didn't take off the excess friction, so it meant that this thing isn't going as far as it should be. So it could be fixable, I guess, but you'd have to go inside the gearbox, which I don't think will be too big of a deal. It's just you'd have to unstaple the legs and that sort of thing, and I'm not willing to do that for something that's, so it's such a cool prop that I don't know whether it'll come back next year or not. If it does come back next year and they have fixed this problem, I'll get the quick version, because I don't want a slow one. It's not as effective. You want it swiveling around really fast. But also, I don't think random people are going to notice, because it's only me who's noticing it not going all the way. Regular people walking through my display, they're not going to care. I tried to pose the hood so it looks like when it's there, it's in the centre, but it kind of worked. Anyway, I hope you found this useful, and if you do want to take it apart and try and replace the gear, which it might be very tricky, you need to undo the staples from the leg and then the screws on the front. So what Techie does is, I'll show you down here so I don't have to lift up the entire thing. Oh, my flash doesn't work. because my battery's low. Let's set off everything. It's very hard to see, but you can see there's a staple there. So what you have to do is you have to take out the staples, which are also up here. So there's a staple there, and there's a staple. Oh, you can't really see it, but there's staples by the gearbox, and you have to take them out. And then there's some screws on the gearbox. I'm not going to do this. I don't think it's worth the risk. I want mine to last. I mean, I do have spare gears, but it's not really worth it. I want this thing to last long. Yeah, so that's that. Hope this helped you.